So the radicals have definitely taken over Canada, and it's really quite bad. So when Trudeau was elected, we were at parity for per person GDP in Canada. And that's historically about where Canada has been. Sometimes a little ahead.
Parity with America, you mean?
Parity with America. Sometimes a little behind, more often a little behind. But now we're at 60%. Canadians are poorer in per capita GDP than Mississippi residents, right? And our real estate is twice as expensive, right? And so now the upside is that, unfortunately, well, I said the upside. The upside is that it's over, but it won't come to its conclusion for a year, right?
Jordan Peterson sounds the alarm on the state of Canada, describing a nation under siege by radical ideologies that have upended its economic stability and social fabric. In this compelling breakdown, Peterson examines how Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government has transformed the once centrist Liberal Party into a far-left entity that's even more extreme than the socialist NDP. Yet Peterson sees a glimmer of hope. He predicts a seismic political shift as Pierre Poilievre is poised to become the next Prime Minister, potentially dismantling Trudeau's legacy. But the path forward won't be easy. Poilievre will inherit a nation in crisis, where the scale of economic and societal damage remains to be uncovered. Is Canada on the brink of collapse? Or can new leadership steer the country back from the edge? Dive into this riveting video as Peterson unpacks the harsh truths about Canada's present and its uncertain future.
Poilievre is going to be the next Prime Minister unless some bloody, completely unforeseen catastrophe occurs, and that strikes me as unlikely. And the Liberals, who are now the socialists, farther to the left than the NDP, who are the actual socialists, they're going to get demolished so hard that they might disappear federally. It's going to be a bloodbath, and it's so well deserved. But, this is a big but, you said, that Biden now has an opportunity in the next 2 months to do the right thing, and maybe he will. Trudeau has a year, and I believe Trudeau is a wounded narcissist. So I thought he was narcissistic right from the beginning. And the reason I believed that was because he had no right to put himself forward as Prime Minister. He had no resume. He didn't know anything. All he had was a name that he didn't make known. His father did.
Yep.
That's all he had. Well, no,
and he was a drama teacher.
Yeah. He was also good looking, and he was graceful, and he was charming, and he knew how to behave in public. Like, so
that's run pretty thin though. Now,
I know, but it wasn't nothing, right? Right. So you want to give the devil his due.
Yeah.
But in terms of competence, that was just completely lacking, and also the ability to see that he didn't have the knowledge or the ability to run a country. That was lacking. Now, when he was first approached, I thought, okay, you could refuse, or because of the heritage of your family, let's say, you don't want the Conservatives to win, and so you decide to stand for Prime Minister, but you understand very clearly that you don't know what the hell you're doing at all. And so you surround yourself with people who are experts, and you let them teach you. And he did none of that. I mean, he set up a cabinet that was half women in 2015, and that's why he said he did it, because it was 2015, even though only 1 in 4 MPs were women. So he set up a bad cabinet to begin with, because he over-selected from 25% of the population. And that was all virtue signaling. And so he started out as a narcissist, and he never changed. And now one of the problems with narcissists is that when everybody likes them, they can be quite benevolent because their greatness is recognized. But when people decide that they're detestable, which is pretty much where Trudeau has got in Canada, it's very hard for him to go out in public now without people like literally cursing him. Then it's time for revenge. And he's got a bill tabled right now called Bill C-63, which has gone through first reading, so it's on the way to becoming law, it makes Bill C-16, which was the one I objected to, look like child's play. This is the most totalitarian bill I've ever seen a Western country produce by a large margin.
This is about registering the news organizations?
That's part of it. Part of it. Life in prison for hate crime with all these protected groups. And the worst of it is that I can't even believe this can possibly be true. I can take you in front of a provincial magistrate, and if I convince the provincial magistrate that I'm afraid that you might commit a hate crime in the next year, say with your Twitter utterances, he'll affix a electronic surveillance bracelet to your leg and keep you in your house for a year.
It's pre-crime.
It's pre-crime.
You saw Minority Report?
It's pre-crime. Yeah, it's pre-crime. Absolutely. Absolutely. So here's something interesting, I guess, insofar as Canadian politics is interesting, but the world is such now and so upside down that even Canadian politics has become interesting. Yeah. It's like, oh, that's not good. And so Stephen Guilbeault, who's the Minister of Environment, who's been waging war against the resource economy in Canada, which is, by the way, the economy in Canada.
Right.
Right. And he declared a week and a half ago publicly that he was a socialist. And I thought, French-Canadian socialist, and I thought, you son of a bitch. There's a socialist party in Canada. That's the NDP. It's like, what the hell are you doing in the Liberal Party, which was a centrist party, like the centrist Democrats forever, and the Natural Governing Party of Canada? It's like the Progressives just invaded it. They didn't care that it was a complete bloody lie, that they had taken over the Liberal Party and turned it into left of the Socialist Party, actually. And now they're proclaiming that outright. I mean, I can already see that Stephen Guilbeault, he's the worst sort of progressive imaginable. He would sacrifice the poor to his green delusions. That's exactly what he is doing. That's what he's doing. He's already declared war essentially on the Western provinces and Alberta in particular, even though his own province, Quebec, depends on the money Alberta sends them to maintain anything that resembles an advanced industrial economy. So I think they'll really do damage to Canada in the next year. And then Poilievre will have to come in and mop up, and he's going to have a very tough fight on his hands because things are worse in Canada than Canadians believe, and they're likely worse than I know. And we won't know how bad they are till Poilievre takes power, and then they'll all be blamed on him. So, yeah, so Canadians are in for a rough time. And they haven't woken up, I wouldn't say. I wouldn't say that the typical Canadian, for example, was a Trump supporter, right? They're still trapped in that centrist, progressive mindset that is completely ignorant of the danger of the radical leftists. There are signs of improvement. Danielle Smith's tough as a boot, the Premier of Alberta, and Poilievre, as far as I can tell, he's a man with a spine. He's not easy to push around. And I think he's sensible, and I actually do think that he actually cares about working class people. So, like Trump, weirdly enough, because Trump actually cares about working class people. And so, having worked with him for so long as well, and understands them as well, and the Democrats made that decision under Hillary Clinton to throw the white working class in particular just under the bus. And so, c'est la vie, man.